This game was requested by Student Yowie. Thank you very much. This game describes itself as a space sandbox MMO, which is pretty accurate to be honest. It's got RPG elements as well and combat, and I guess a bit of strategy in terms of loadouts and matching classes together in groups to get optimum output, so there's fair variety. I first opened the game to an options menu where I picked my settings for screen size and graphics. Once that was done, I had to wait a little while for the game to generate the maps and textures, but it wasn't very long luckily, maybe a minute or two. After that I was thrown straight in. The messages popped up fairly quickly, so I had to catch on fast, but luckily they're fairly simple: W to forward, A and D to right and left, S to brake and stop. There is no backwards in this game, which for some reason always throws me, so it took me a little time to get used to the controls. The rotate is very fast, which means you can get out of control fairly easily, but the game keeps you in one area and gives you various tutorial tasks to do to help you get to grips with the functions of the ship and its weapons. There are a lot of customizable and upgrade features available, and at first it can seem a bit mind-blowing. On each map there's likely to be a station. You can dock at this station, and this is where you can sell debris you've picked up, buy new parts for your ship, buy new ships, upgrade your skills, and pick up and cash in missions. At first there are minimal skill and item upgrades to stop you going too wild, but as you upgrade your skills you open access to higher leveled upgrades. Your engine, shields, radar, energy regeneration, weapons and hull are all upgradable as separate entities, so you have to work on bits at a time to increase the power, defense and storage space of your ship as well as other things. The game doesn't walk you through this as obviously as it does for the most basic stuff. It doesn't give as much time to explaining the purpose of upgrading your hull, for example, as it does for your weapons or shield. You also have 2 default special abilities with space for up to 5, and these are on a recharge, so you deploy and then have to wait for them to regenerate before you can use them again. When you do dock at the stations, you have to be going at a specific speed to be accepted into the station. You can't be going too fast. At first it took me a bit of time to figure out how slow I had to drift in, as the base had a very strict limit to what speed I needed to go. I figured out much later on that if you right-click an object, you fly on autopilot to it. This includes stations, and if you autopilot to a station, the aircraft will automatically slow down and dock. Of course, this autopilot function is not highlighted anywhere, and I had to figure it out myself. Because of the controls, the fast turning and the drift you get from being a spaceship floating in space, the combat can feel a little ham-fisted at first. You have to be facing your enemy when you fire at them, but obviously if you're flying at them in a straight line, you're going to be a very easy target. So I tried to sort of drift around their line of fire as if I was sliding on ice and hitting them with a broom every now and again. My poor grasp over the controls meant this plan didn't work all too well, and I ended up soaking up bullets. During the practice fights this was mostly okay, but when I went hunting space rats later, I realised I wasn't so good at soaking things up and ended up dying. The death has an interesting mechanic where you have to sit and wait for a green bar to fill for a little bit. Then when it does, your ghostly spirit of your ship detaches from you. You have to then control it like you would your normal ship, and get it over the top of your ship to reclaim it. You can reclaim in situ or have it towed back to a station, but the game discourages you from towing it since it will apparently damage the ship. You drop money when you die, but you can pick it up again afterwards. My first set of proper quests were all fetch quest style, picking up loot from dead rats, which sounded well and good until I collected too much of one thing and didn't have enough ship space for another. I had no idea my inventory was full, and after realising that the F number keys at the top opened different menus, I realised that actually I couldn't see how much space I had in any window bar 1, which I hadn't been told how to open. If you press F1, it opens up a massive overview of your ship, and on a tab on the top left you can see how many spare slots you have. If you make upgrades and equip them to your ship, you have to remember to get rid of the old ones. That's what was filling up my inventory, because I didn't even have enough space on my ship to complete a quest because someone wanted to give me something as a reward and I had no room for it. I had to buy a new ship to use the storage space because there were no slots on mine. As said, it would have been nice if they'd told me about my limited storage space when they told me how to pick up loot, but there is a line of buttons on the bottom that actually half advertise that these windows exist. However, you get sucked into the game pretty quickly and very focused on what all these little upgrades are, and all the ships and things floating around you, that it's very easy to not notice these little buttons down at the bottom. The game could benefit from highlighting a bit more in that area. I managed to figure out why I had no space and how to find out how much space I had, but it did take me a little while, and you can buy extra space as well with hull and ship upgrades. The game is run on an online server, so you have other people in their little or big ships flying around you and destroying things you're trying to destroy just to make you feel bad that they're better than you. You can friend people and be added into parties or teams as well if you want to do your missions with a helper. If you and another player fight an enemy together and it drops debris, it's only the player who got the killing blow that can pick it up. I thought someone was stealing my stuff, but when I tried to pick it up, it told me I couldn't. The game also has a system where once you level up your ship to level 10, you can then choose a class for it. This will alter your focus of what parts of your ship you want to upgrade more and your playstyle. You have a light fighter that focuses on speed, a heavy fighter that focuses on combat, either sniping or close range damage. You have a stealth or recon fighter that dips in and out and cloaks until close distance. And you have the big bad support ships that control drones or other aircraft to essentially do the fighting for you. I'm an up close and bash it till it dies kind of player, so I chose the combat one and went berserker, so close range fighting basically. As you level up after certain intervals, you gain skill points to improve in the areas of the class you chose. The graphics for the ships seem to be pixely old style graphics, but actually it's not really that noticeable because the environments and backgrounds are really well detailed and look great, and actually when you're looking at your ship from a fairly distant view you don't really notice this kind of thing. Everything is very well distinguishable from each other. Oh, apart from the debris, that's designed exactly the same no matter what it is. You need to pick up rations and microchips? Well, good luck guessing which one's which. They all look the same. Does clicking on them help? Does your little info script help figure it out? Nope, it's debris. Thanks for that, very helpful. Since I had 2 active fetch quests at once, I had to just collect everything and then dump some of my rations every time my storage got full, in hopes that the next set of debris loot I picked up wouldn't just be more rations. I could have flown back to the station and sold my too many rations, but I was in a different area of map which did not contain a station, so it was a big old trek back to free up some inventory that would no doubt be filled again a minute later. The music is good and easily fades into the background when you need to concentrate. Each of the quests you take has a little instruction at first and then a story script, giving a little bit more imagery to the story and fleshing out the NPCs giving you the jobs. You can of course ignore all this text, press accept and just follow the arrows or see what the quest box on the left says, but you can read more story if you want to. I've really only scraped the surface of what this game has to offer. One thing that's very obvious from what I've seen so far is that, to make the most of it, this game really requires a lot of time and dedication. I've seen people say that having multiple counts is almost a must for doing great at the game, and really it's a lot of grinding, selling, upgrading. You can mine for resources and kill enemies to level up and sell stuff to get upgrades. You level up your character in various skill areas to give them more access to larger varieties of equipment. You can own multiple spacecraft, but if you buy a second one, it's only accessible from the station you buy it from. If you visit another station, you won't be able to find it there. The map is enormous. I've been to several areas already that already had multiple quests to do in them, and all of those areas connected to about 5 other areas that then connected to others, and there's just so much in there. The game is just massive in its play space, and as said, it's mostly focused on progression, grinding, leveling, upgrading, so you can either chill and do missions and stuff, or you can try and build fleets to battle other people. It's up to you. There are mission areas where you can team up and fight bosses. There are dungeons, apparently, according to the Steam achievements, which are broken since there are achievements for getting to level 1 and 6 and 10, and I have already done all of those things and got no achievements awarded, so yeah, those don't work. The game was released onto Steam on the 12th of June, so it's actually very new. However, a lot of the pre-existing reviews on the Steam page say they've played it for years, so presumably the game has existed for a while on another medium. There are mentions from long-term players about pay-to-win content at higher levels, and that the free-to-play content dwindles the higher up you go, which is a negative for its points as a free-to-play game. It also mentions that the best way to get good and strong and powerful is to team up with other people, which isn't really ideal for solo players who just want to play stuff on their own. It's a good idea for a game and it's got a lot of variety and potential, and if you do really connect with the game, it's got loads in it for you. Tons of playstyle variety, chance to play with multiple ships, multiple characters, with other people in teams. It's got tons of map space and a load of ways to customise and upgrade your assets to the style you want. It's a lot to grasp for a newer player, and I think some of the deeper details, like upgrading, using radars and such, should really be explained as early as possible. If you're going to explain the game mechanics, just do it all together. And if you've got a lot of mechanics, just do them in steps. When you have such a massive world with interesting things buzzing around you, it's so easy to get distracted and start doing missions and the like, and it's easy to miss the extra tutorial tasks that you can do as you move to the other stations further out. Get it sorted early, avoid confusion, explain your game. It's much better for piquing interest when people know what they're doing and have all the game's potential highlighted to them before they get out there and explore. You can't be eager to upgrade your ship and make it bigger and cooler if you don't even know that's an option yet. There's a very fine line between having a lot of content and having almost too much content, and I think by all of the game genres listed in the beginning, it's easy to see how that may be a risk for this game. For progression games, the sky needs to be the limit sometimes to save the game from hitting a ceiling and running out of traction, but at the same time, when you're having to direct players towards your wiki page and making them study to fully understand the mechanics and stuff in the game, it becomes questionable. The sheer amount of time and effort to even really grasp and get into the meat of the game is enough by itself, but the game has achievements for you putting 1,000, even 10,000 hours into it. I mean, kudos if you do, but those kind of time prospects for a new player are like being placed at the foot of Mount Everest, given a telescope, told to look at the peak through the wrong end, and then being told, that's where you're heading. This may be a personal grievance with the choice of time dedication, and I think it probably is. Clearly people enjoy this game, and in terms of the function and the prospects, I don't think there's a lot to complain about. A few things like text alerts popping up too fast to read and vague or unexplained menus and mechanics are the most solid things I have to criticise on. I don't think it's a bad game at all, and if you've got the time and you like this style of design and build, grind and upgrade, there's a lot of content on offer for you in this game. I just think that there's potential for the game to come across as having maybe too much content, or that the better content of the game is just too far away and takes too much time to get to. Plus, the rumours of an elusive pay-to-win wall in later game may cap anyone who wants this game as a free-to-play only in their activities. Even still, it's a decent game once you figure it out, and so I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10.